Hi, and welcome to our J-Term sneak peek for Boston Ballet School's professional division at Walnut Hill. We thought we'd talk to you a little bit about our process heading into J-Term. Much like the kaleidoscope, our J-Term mirrors the process in the sense that it is built around arts and activism. We knew it was going to be a collaborative process and that it would be a collaboration with the music department, which we were very excited about. So our process kind of began in September. We met with the music department, we talked about what kind of collaboration it would be, and we came up with the collective idea that it would be really great to use student composers to go with our student choreographers. And through that process, the music department identified that there would be four composers. With that in mind, we went back to our process. We had an application process for our choreographers, and then we met with we chose the choreographers, we met with the dancers, the choreographers to do several things, a couple of times, to pair them up with their composers and their musicians. So that was a whole process that took place, and it was really kind of amazing to watch the choreographers and the composers sort of self-select based on their themes and who they connected with, which I thought was really great when you're talking about student agency and all of them coming together. And then we had the meetings with the dancers to choose their cast, to cast their pieces. And it was really important that all of the dancers be used in the department. So we are, how many? 68. 68 dancers with 8 choreographers. And so that process was really intricate and going through and making sure that every dancer hit the stage. And that's where we're at in the process.
So this film is, what Ms. Weiss said, a sneak peek of the process. You're going to hear a little bit about the choreographers' intentions around their artistic choices as it relates to the activism, that topic that they chose. And we want you to come back to see the live performance on February 25th and 26th. So hopefully save the date. You'll see the final product and all of the beauty and well-rounded works that they made then. So stay tuned. Thank you.
Some specific themes of activism that inspired this piece for me were themes such as ethnic diversity and body positivity. I chose to incorporate activism into my piece by giving each dancer a little solo to showcase their own individuality. One challenge I faced during this process was that for the first half of J-Term, I was quarantined for 2 weeks because I had COVID. So that made it really difficult to teach over Zoom. And a lot of my dancers were also in quarantine at the same time. So I only had like half of my cast in the studio. I overcame that challenge by basically teaching everything mirrored so that it would be easier for the dancers to learn, and by also not making it too confusing by doing any of the formations yet, and I kind of just taught the steps. And now that we're back in the studio, I'm starting to put formations into my piece, and now that most of the steps are already learned, it's become a lot easier to do that. The music I chose for my piece inspired me because there's a lot of different layers to the song, and it slows down in some places and speeds up, so I figured I could do a lot with that choreography-wise.
My piece is about inclusivity. I used a pre-composed piece, so I was able to really focus on the music, and where her themes are highlighted, I wanted my themes to be highlighted, so I really worked on drawing out the dynamics so that the complexity of the music would just really read to the audience. It's very exciting music. There are times when it slows down, and I use those times to kind of really focus on like one person on stage and that kind of thing. So it really impacted my piece just with the nuances, I think. I had somewhat of like a choreography block, like a dancer's or a writer's block. And I really just worked on getting in the studio and being totally transparent with my dancers, because I wanted them to know like I'm not going to be perfect at this, and just working together with them really helped.
One word that describes this experience for me personally, I think would just be inspiring, because I was injured towards the beginning of the year, and I think being in a room, but in the studio at a different part of the process, I guess, because last year I was in choreographic, I was just one of the dancers, I think was really inspiring, to see how they work and different phrases of movement on different people. The topic that I chose was racism and kind of diversity and individuality, if that makes sense. So my piece is pretty much about two people who are in conflict with each other, and then it symbolizes towards the end there's a younger generation that ends in harmony. I played a lot with dynamics and musicality, and I think that was the main way that I showed, I said, if they were in conflict or harmony. I think a lot of the parts where they're angry at each other or going against each other, the music is faster and grander and larger, whereas when they're peacefully dancing, I think it shows a very big contrast between the two.
I would say a word or phrase to describe this experience would perhaps be exploratory, just because I feel I chose to take part in the choreographic process because it's really not something that we get to do every day in class. Usually we're told exactly what we're supposed to do as dancers, and I think that I was really interested in exploring a different side of dance and the creation instead of just how to dance. When we had to choose the topic for our piece, it was around the time that troops were being pulled out of Afghanistan, so I think I was thinking about war and the consequences, potential benefits. So the basis of my piece was kind of anti-war activism, and I was thinking about themes of conflict and contrasting that with unification. I wanted to have choreography and music that could show two differing sides of my dancers and of the piece. I think the biggest challenge has been trying to take a vision that I have myself in my head and putting this onto other people who will see the steps differently, or hear the music differently, and perhaps have a different vision for themselves than what I see. Perhaps one way I've been exploring this is taking the dancers' perspectives and ideas into account.
My piece is about mental health and how different aspects of life can impact your mental health, and I wanted to showcase how those struggles can feel through dancing. I think the way that I'm just trying to go about showcasing my theme is trying to create a physical representation of what would be going on inside somebody's mind who struggles with mental health. In my piece, there's one main person, and then the surrounding dancers almost choreographically almost look like they're controlling her and overpowering her a little bit, and so that's kind of how I tried to incorporate representing the theme.
My piece is about people feeling like they're not being seen or valued or understood. I tried to display that theme by showing interactions between my dancers. One dancer, when she would come on, everybody else would kind of be turned away, or she's not really showing who she wants to be and doing the moves that she wants to do. The music I chose was slower and kind of repetitive too, so I felt I was challenged to create this story relying solely on my choreography and my steps. And I felt the tone of the music really, it's not exactly happy, but at the same time it's kind of normal and everyday. And I felt that related to my theme, because some people, everything seems fine, but under the surface they're not doing so great, and they can't really express who they are or what they're feeling.
My piece is about sort of climate change, but really it's about how like different elements in nature are reacting with one another, and how each separate element of nature has its own way of life, but within that they all like contribute to working towards creating the world as we know it, and how an outside force with like environmental changes and climate change, how that outside force is reacting on each element of our piece, and how even though at the end there is still hope that we can always come out of this experience. In the beginning when we first even heard about that I was gonna get the chance to do this, me and Yuki met up, and it was just me and her, and I sort of walked her through what I wanted each part of the piece to look like and feel like, and she played on the piano. She's literally miraculous. Like, she can just create something so beautiful within seconds. And then we finally solidified what kind of music we wanted, and she created this beautiful piece in simply like a week, so it's really exciting.
My piece is about gender fluidity, and it's about not having a fixed gender or barrier to how you can express yourself through your gender identity. Everyone has a different way of expressing themselves, and it shouldn't be limited to how you act or what you look like or what your identity is. The relationship between me and my composer, Rain, was very supportive and super collaborative. We shared our different visions and ideas, and I was able to tell her about the feeling I want to evoke in the music, and she was able to bring that out in her piece, and so it worked really well. For my piece, I chose to incorporate activism through different elements like boys partnering boys, girls partnering girls, men on point. One element that helped tie my piece together was a circular movement or a circular pattern, because since my theme is gender fluidity, I kind of want to showcase that in a spectrum or in a shape that's not linear. To me, a circle represents freedom and a continuous flow of energy. And so, yeah, I used circular movements to embody my piece.